All right, good morning and welcome to today's special meeting of the King County Regional Homelessness Authority Governing Committee. I'm calling this meeting to order. Sarah, will you please call the roll?
Nancy Backus.
I am here and just want you to know that I will also have to leave by 11 to chair Sound Transit Finance and Audit Committee. So
Noted, thank you. Claudia Balducci.
Here.
Angela Burney.
Here.
Dow Constantine.
Here.
Jenny Durkin.
Here.
Lorena Gonzalez.
Here.
Jonathan Hemphill.
Present.
Andrew Lewis.
Present.
Kirk McLean.
Here.
Joe McDermott.
Here until the end of the meeting. Chair Backus will have to live without me at Sound Transit until this is over.
Ed Prince.
Here.
Zanita Reed.
Here.
We have 12 members present.
All right, thank you. As a brief reminder, if you'd like to speak, please raise your hand by clicking the button on the right side of your screen. If you have any problems with the raise hand function, please comment in the chat and Sarah and our staff team will work to help you problem solve. We're now at public comment. We'll begin public comment. To sign up for public comment, please enter your name and city in the chat or raise your hand. You will have 2 minutes to speak. We have 15 minutes allocated for public comment today, starting now. Sarah, will you please begin the public comment period?
Yes, good morning, folks. So public comment has now begun. To sign up for public comment, please enter your name and city in the chat or raise your hand. If you are on the phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand and I will call on you when it is your turn to speak. Right now we have one person signed up for public comment. That is Bill Curlin-Hackett. Bill, 1 second while I unmute you.
Board members, thank you for this opportunity. You have a big task in front of you today. Recently, I was watching the performance or the consideration of the Long versus Seattle case. The city's contracted attorney said the city has devoted enormous resources to this issue. That was his exact words. Actually, the city devotes 0.14% of its spending to direct work with those living in vehicles, more with waste remediation added, but it still falls considerably short considering the fact that 50% of the unsheltered homeless live in vehicles. Now, those enormous resources have never been devoted to people who are vehicle residents like Mr. Long. And my point isn't this data or to convict the city per se, but rather what we will need to change the King County Regional Housing Authority. First is to understand who is homeless and how they are homeless. Second is to how to best form protocols and practice. In the vehicle outreach the city funds, the #1 performance requirement is referring vehicle residents to shelter. There's a definite disconnect in that mandate. As you consider approving Mark Doanes, and I hope you do, be reminded he needs all of you. So prepare yourselves for new understandings and protocols in our whole region. Laws like the currently suspended 72-hour move requirement harms those homeless and blunts capacity for outreach when it's in force. COVID is teaching us our former policies are punitive and stymie our mutual capacities to foster exits from homelessness and outreach to those homeless. At long last, the county has suspended impounding vehicles sheltering the homeless. Again, COVID teaches us. Will you make yourselves the vehicles to recommend change across jurisdictions, not just for what money must buy, but for what policy and practice must provide? Our failure has been that the fear of going too far has kept us from going far enough since 2001. It has never been just about the money. It is and has been all about all of us. All of you across this county need to be all in. So I hope this is the start of a new adventure and effort that helps protect our vulnerable citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. You are at time. At this moment, we have no one else signed up for public comment.
All right, thank you. We will move on to our next presentation, but we'll leave the chat function open during that presentation if anyone who didn't get a chance to speak would like to submit any written comments. We're now on to our implementation board presentation of recommended CEO candidate. We have our co-chairs here, Nick Caminos and Harold Odom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, members of the Governing Committee. As you may recall, a timeline of the Regional Homelessness Authority CEO hiring process started with the RFP for a recruitment firm last summer to where we are now before you today, in addition to the work done by the CEO Search Committee. 4 candidates were approved by the appointed CEO Search Committee for interviews by the Implementation Board back in December. These candidates were selected after a lengthy stakeholder engagement process, national recruitment and initial interviews run by the Hawkins Company out of Los Angeles. The prospective candidates represent a diverse and varied background of skills and experience that best adhere to the selection criteria that was developed throughout this process. Candidates were sourced, evaluated, and screened to align with the following criteria: homelessness expertise, racial equity and social justice, equity-driven financial expertise, political and grassroots community organizing skills, and strong management and communication experience. After preliminary interviews on January 15th, the Implementation Board chose 2 final candidates to continue. Then the Lived Experience Coalition and the Sound Cities Association held separate meet and greets with the candidates. Soon after, we hosted all of you from the Governing Committee for the final round of interviews. On February 4th, we recommended Regina Cannon as King County Regional Homeless Authority's first CEO. And later that day, you, the Governing Committee, confirmed our recommendation. Soon after, Ms. Cannon declined the employment offer, and my fellow co-chair, Harold Oldham, and I had a chance to connect with Regina last weekend. Regina Cannon is highly respected and nationally recognized as a passionate ally of the underserved. She is a champion of individuals who desperately need a voice. Although she was drawn to the needs of the King County regional homelessness population, in the end, she determined that there was still much to be done in her current community. Her dedication to fulfilling her commitment is commendable, and we wish her continued success. While our board did its due diligence in reviewing the list of 17 applicants that were narrowed down back in December, followed up by a meeting with representatives of the CEO Search Committee, we decided there was no reason to pursue a path of considering an interim CEO while restarting the recruitment and hiring process, because we already had an extraordinary finalist in front of us that we were confident about. Last Wednesday, the Implementation Board unanimously voted for Mark Doanes as our recommendation of a Chief Executive Officer for your consideration in the form of a resolution that is before you today. I do want to take a moment to once again say that we were all very fortunate to have had such a competitive pool of candidates apply, and for us to consider especially our remaining finalists. We were presented with a slate of highly qualified candidates and a finalist who brought a systems approach, a sense of urgency, and is committed to racial equity and centering the voices of those who experience homelessness. We very much appreciate the finalist candidacy with us throughout this process and continue to hope to partner with them in the future. But now back to our recommended candidate. Mark Doanes is a social entrepreneur, policy strategist, and social justice activist with 10+ years of experience in equitable systems transformation across local, state, and federal government systems. As the founder and executive director of the National Innovation Service, Mark oversees day-to-day operations and strategy for policy, community engagement, and design, as well as operations and business development. Prior to launching NIS, Mark held various roles in social impact, specializing in policy, program design, and continuous improvement. This includes leadership roles at Future Laboratories and a Center for Social Innovation. At C4, they developed and launched the Spark, Supporting Partnerships for Anti-Racist Communities initiative, engaging 8+ jurisdictions, plus more than 20 agencies in the US government in efforts to transform the national conversation about housing to include a focus on racism and racial justice. They also served in various roles at the state level, including working on the design and implementation of Governor Deval Patrick's $10 million a year youth violence reduction program in 11 cities across the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Outside of direct systems transformation, Mark is a faculty at the School of Visual Arts and leverages their experience as a keynote speaker and panelist across the country. They have spoken at the White House and in Harvard University as just recent examples. Mark has also authored or co-authored several papers and book chapters on the subject of racism, homelessness, mental health, and systems transformation. Mark holds a degree in psychiatric anthropology from the university. Someone we've informally referred to as the architect, Mark, as you know, has built the framework for this authority. For Mark, this is an opportunity for them to have helped craft the foundation for this authority with us and soon be able to tackle all of the opportunities and challenges we have before us as our inaugural CEO. It was evident to us that for Mark, the values of equity, diversity, inclusion, and the theory of change weren't just sound bites to them, but have been ingrained as an essential part of their DNA in everything they do. Where there is a lot to say about Mark's background and qualifications pending the governing committee's review and consideration, we're excited that will personally have the opportunity to share more about themselves to all of you, our partners, constituents, and public at large as our new Chief Executive Officer. Before I pass it on to Harold for any additional comments he'd like to add, on behalf of the Implementation Board, we once again wanted to both express our sincere appreciation to the support staff, members of the CEO Search Committee, Leo Floor and Helen Howe, and to many behind the scenes, especially Sola Plumacher, Jeannie McNabb, Carrie Flory, and Gabriel Silberblatt for all their late nights and working weekends with Harold and I in getting us to this point. And with that, now I'll pass it on to my fellow co-chair, Harold Odom.
Thank you, Nate. Thank you, Chair, for allowing us to bring our Mark Doanes to the whole governance committee. I'll go with Mayor Backus and Mayor Burney. When you were interviewing Mark, he said some things and made you smile. That he was committed to being a community person. And speaking with Mark yesterday, I wanted him to further elaborate on that. He wanted to make sure that you understand that he is community and he has a new approach. Nate will be spearheading a community in communication committee with the Implementation Board. Mark likes that idea because he thinks that's the only way we can bring these 39 cities together. South cities have said they have not been heard. I agree with you. Mark agrees with you. Implementation Board agrees with you. But how do we do it? He's willing to sit down, have listening sessions, come to the table, and bring you all as well. He knows he cannot do this alone, and we know he can't do it alone. He's not the Superman. No one is. If you will support Mark with your support and power, because you're all powerful, you have strategic voices in every area of this county and beyond, we can have a good start. Implementation Board is really 100% behind Mark, and we think you should be too. Mark has an ability to bring people together. He has an outstanding personality. That's laughter is sometimes a little irritating, I take it, but you know, you got to get to know him. I first started off with Mark 2 years ago. Mark and I did not get along. He said some things about homeless people, that we were going through trauma. And yes, he's right. It takes a lot. It takes some weekly therapy to help me get through some trauma. But I said to him, we're coming to a regional homeless authority. We have 100 people in this room who are going through trauma. They want to know where their next paycheck's coming from, if they're going to be part of the homeless authority, and who are you? After about a month of talking with Mark back and forth, he came to a lived experience, sat down with us, didn't know that he had said that in a way that hurt us. He brought us to the table, the lived experience, helped us work on the ombudsman part of the Regional Homeless Authority. He brought a lot of people to the table in building this Regional Homeless Authority. I'm confident he'll do the same as this new CEO, as Nate said, the inaugural CEO. We have a lot of faith in him. But let me say, without community, faith, city, county council, our two governing committee, implementation board, community partner holders throughout the county, this will not be successful. Will not. If we're going to have an emergency approach system, how is that going to work? We get someone off the street into shelter, into housing, and then we leave them. That's not the new approach Mark wants to take. He wants to make sure that they have housing that's sustainable. We have outreach people who are great. They should be poster children. Yvonne, Brenda, and your own Zanita They believe in the most basic thing, and Mark has said this several times. It's all about building relationships. We have to build relationships. And with that, if you need to talk to Mark, I'm sure he'll be available, but we urge you to back Mark 100%. Give him your support as we have given him. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Harold. Thank you so much, Nate. Anyone have any questions for our co-chairs?
Yes.
Go ahead, Jonathan.
Okay, Prince. Oh, thank you very much, Chair. So I wanted to know, thank you both for those beautiful speeches and your recommendation. I want to know, did you all have any commentary for us? I know that, you mentioned earlier that you decided not to go back to the 17 candidates and that was going to be a long process. Do you have, were you able to speak to any folks of the search committee and they were able to corroborate that and speak to the process?
Yes, Jonathan, we, on our implementation board meeting last Wednesday, we had representatives from the CEO search committee join us and being able to walk us through a little bit more of the process that unfolded back in December prior to it leading up to the semifinalists of the 4 that we interviewed in January. So yeah, there was a hearty and healthy discussion in that, and each of the implementation board members had a chance to review some of those materials and applications in advance of that conversation.
Okay. And
Also, Jonathan, we want to make sure that we honor people who we bring to the city and county and to the implementation board. People throughout the search committee not only had the Hawkins group, but had several individuals, both county, city, and community stakeholders who did excellent work. And we went beyond just the simple screening material. So we have to honor their work and not really go back and say, did you do this? Did you do that? Did you cross your T or dot your I? We have to honor their work and make sure that we respect it. And they did do good work.
No, thank you. And I'm pretty sure they did, their due diligence and worked hard to make sure that we had these final candidates and not like this candidate, Mark Doanes, was the one that shined. So thank you just for hitting that home, that the process was a great one and that it took a lot of people coming together to make sure that we had the best candidates and the best candidate before us, in fact, for this job.
Are there any other questions for the co-chairs? All right.
I'm sorry, Chair Prince. I have one more question. During this hiring process, was who was involved with it? Was it Bobby Humes, or can you speak a little bit more to that?
Yeah, Jonathan, not sure what more you may be from. I'm not familiar with Bobby, but the Hawkins company representatives, as our consulting firm that joined us last summer, were the ones that helped facilitate the recruitment and vetting process alongside the CEO search committee back last fall, getting into December, and even working with us, the implementation board, and you as governing committee members later in January, and guiding us to where we are today.
Okay, maybe I didn't ask that correctly. So during this last leg run of the process, thank you for that, Chair Nate. I'm curious to know who's going to be spearheading the onboarding and the finalization and the drafting of the offer letter and everything like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Or maybe question after we move forward.
All good. No, Harold and I have had opportunities to connect with Mark this past week since the implementation board took action last Wednesday in our recommendation. They've been fruitful. We had conversations about negotiations and offer letter, in which we've gotten to the point that they've accepted. With the resolution that is before you is able to cover the scope of the work of the draft letter itself, draft offer letter that we have, that they've tentatively agreed to at the moment. So in terms of the onboarding and stuff, I'm sure that's should their governing committee decide to take action today or at some point soon, we'll start to work with support staff on that transition materials in terms of the onboarding. But I know that they're eager and confident, should they be approved, to begin to join us full time later in April.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. That were all my questions.
All right. If there are no other questions, we're going to move on. All right, I don't see any additional questions. Thank you, Chair Caminos and Chair Odom. We are going to move on to our consideration of CEO candidates. We will now consider the Implementation Board resolution recommending Mark Doanes for the position of CEO. Would anyone like to make a motion?
So moved, Durkin. Second.
All right, it's been moved by Durkin, seconded by Reed. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Nancy.
Thank you. First of all, I wanted to express my appreciation to the Implementation Board for all of their work and dedication to this. Mr. Odom, you provided some compelling comments, so I appreciate your words. I will share that I do have some concerns by this selection. However, I will support, but it will be with a fierce dedication to ensure that all voices and sub-areas are an integral part of the conversation and the solution. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All
Mr.
right.
Chair, Durkin would like to speak.
Yes, please go ahead.
I speak in favor of this motion, and I want to make very clear that I think it should be known to everyone that this is not a second choice. I think in our last meeting, I gave great praise to Mark Doanes, and having worked with him over the last period of time since the beginning of this endeavor, I can say that he is fiercely dedicated to making sure that equity is done and that we actually solve this crisis. He is dedicated to listening to all voices, to taking criticism himself, but to lead. I have not always agreed with Mark Doanes on everything, but this is a space where not all of us should agree on everything, because what we have done has not worked. We need to open our hearts and our minds to do different approaches, but we need to do it as one entity. We've said it many times when we embarked on this, that the crisis of homelessness and the causes of homelessness do not respect any boundary, any state boundary, county boundary, or city boundary. What we're doing today is very innovative, and I think that we are very lucky. My greatest concern with our last candidate, though I supported her and supported the hiring of her, was that we would be a period of starting all over. Seattle sometimes has its unique group of process and stakeholders in our county and our region. Mark Doanes has familiarized himself with that over the period of almost 2 years. And in doing so, I think hits the ground running in a way that will serve us well to get moving. You know, the COVID-19 crisis and the racial reckoning have changed our region forever, hopefully for the better. And much of our efforts to find a leader for this were stymied by the very reality of what COVID-19 meant in terms of a search and people being separated and how hard it was. We have an opportunity now to go forward, and to go forward with someone who can be a trusted partner, who knows the stakeholders, who's committing to learning, and to making sure that we really are focusing and centering our work on the people experiencing homelessness, to make sure that we do all we can to ensure that people don't fall into homelessness when not necessary and are treated with respect and dignity as we solve this crisis. So I support this enthusiastically and can't wait for Mark Doanes to start.
Thank you, Jenny. Any other comments? All right, if not, we're going to move on to the vote. Just a reminder that it takes 2/3 of a vote to codify this. Sarah, will you call the vote?
Nancy Backus,
Aye.
Claudia Balducci,
Aye.
Angela Burney,
Aye.
Dow Constantine, Dow Constantine. We'll come back to you. Jenny Durkin,
Aye.
Lorena Gonzalez,
Aye.
Jonathan,
Aye.
Andrew Lewis,
Aye.
Kirk McLean,
Aye.
Joe McDermott,
Aye.
Ed Woods,
Aye.
Zanita Reed.
Sarah Constantine votes aye.
Oh, thank you. Zanita Reed, I wasn't able to hear your vote. Could you give a thumbs up or a thumbs down? Thumbs up, that is recorded as an aye. We have 12 ayes. Thank you all.
All right, the motion passes. A resolution confirming this vote will be signed by myself as today's meeting chair following this meeting. We have no further business in front of us. Our next meeting is Thursday, April 15th from 10 to noon. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chair, this
Yes.
is Claudia Valdez. May I say a word before we adjourn?
Please.
Thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt here. I didn't know when the appropriate time was, but I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm the chair of the King County Council and a council member for District 6. Obviously new to the committee. This is my first meeting today. I wanted to just say hi to everybody. I'm very excited and also a little intimidated by the work before this group, but it's a really unique group and I'm very looking forward to joining you all. I was planning to join the committee after we selected an ED, but of course things went a little bit different than planned. However, I really respect all the work that went into this decision today and I was very happy to support it. And I know many of you, but not all of you, will be reaching out to those I haven't met before in the hopes of getting together and having an opportunity to get to know each other a little bit. Thank you for letting me say a few words and welcoming me to this group. Appreciate it, Mr. Chair.
Welcome aboard, Claudia. We're happy to have you. There's no other business in front of us, and so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Angela Burney.
Second.
All right, the motion has been moved and seconded. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? We will see you all on April 15th. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
All right.